During this conversation that you had with him, were you aware at that time that in his previous roles he'd been sacked as Trade and Industry Secretary in 1998 for failing to declare an interest-free loan that he'd received from someone whose businesses were being investigated by the department at the time, that he'd been sacked in 2001 after attempting to broker a British passport for a wealthy donor to the Millennium Dome project with which he was involved, and that he'd been criticised on numerous occasions as the European Trade Commissioner for accepting hospitality from companies on whose commercial interests he was in the process of ruling? And did any of those come up in the telephone conversation you had with him? Since we're talking about what came up during the due diligence, I mean, publicly available information at the time was that Mandelson and Epstein had kept a notoriously close relationship, and that in June 2009, Mandelson had stayed at Epstein's townhouse in Manhattan. That would have coincided with the time that Mandelson was UK Business Secretary, and also the time that Epstein was in prison for soliciting prostitution from an underage girl, a child. Both the FT and The Guardian refer to further examples of Mandelson and Epstein communications during 2009, 2010 and 2011. There are pictures of Mandelson shopping with Epstein in the Caribbean, also emerged prior to Mandelson's appointment as ambassador. And the Financial Times and the Daily Mail in 23 and 22 reported on a photo that had emerged of Mandelson celebrating a birthday at Epstein's apartment in 2007. These dates all occur after Epstein being charged in 2006 with soliciting prostitution, and after 2008 when he was pleaded guilty to charges of soliciting prostitution from a person under the age of 18. So I'm just wondering, because in my opinion it is absolutely deplorable that we would have somebody with an attitude towards women and girls in such an important and significant position within our representing our country. At what point were questions raised about whether that was appropriate, and why does it seem that suddenly a small additional bit of information would tip the balance on that being at one point deemed appropriate to then not appropriate?